Hey everyone, this is Mike DeMora coming to you live from Redondo Beach, California, here in our NCEP Fitness office. Anyway, the first thing I wanted to do is, last week, if you've been following our blog, last week I let out about how important it is to have a mentor, how important it is to have a coach, right? Someone to help guide you, someone who's just a few steps or even a bunch of steps ahead of you from where you want to go. Well, you know, I was kind of got razzed a little bit about some of the folks that I work with, and they said, how come I don't do more coaching? So I actually opened up my schedule a little bit and I offered some coaching to anybody who was looking for it, right? Now, this is not free coaching, this is actually for pay. And I just wanted to let you know, my heart just goes out. Thank you, and thank you. You know, it really tells me, you know, kind of where I stand with you people, because wow, it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming the amount of people that reached out and wanted to start coaching. So I do apologize that I was not able to service everyone, because my hours are specific, very specific on what hours that I have open. So I do actually still have 1 or 2 possible hours open if there is anyone who's going to fit those time slots. So I do want to thank you and thank you and thank you again. With that said, in a little bit of my coaching this week, a couple of things that came up. A couple of things that came up were kind of, what do you do with a client after you've signed them? So we got into this little interesting discussion about what's the first step, what would you do, how do you go about it, and what do you do? So I wanted to kind of go over that again on actual first steps, like literally the client comes in for the first session. Now, in this scenario, let's pretend that they've already filled out their health history and they have already been either cleared by the doctor or they're apparently healthy. And if they had to go to the doctor, it was nothing major, and they basically said, no problem, just take it step by step, right? So don't just rush them, but you're all good. So with that said, what is it the first thing that you should do? How do you begin the session? And it was an interesting conversation, because during the conversation, it was either, do we go the cardio route or do we do the overhead squat route? So do we do an assessment before cardio or do we cardio before the assessment? Now, there's no real right or wrong answer, but let's talk about cardio here for a second, right? Do we remember how to even work with someone in the cardio? So what do you do with this individual that just came in? So the first thing you need to do is do the equation 220 minus their age, which will equal what? The predicted maximum heart rate. Now, the predicted maximum heart rate is just this kind of make-believe number, but theoretically, the maximum heart rate means if they had their heart beating even 1 beat faster, they would have a heart attack or pass out, or something negative would happen. So that would be their maximum heart rate. So do we want to train anybody at their maximum heart rate? Absolutely not, especially if it's their first day. So we said we should use 40 to 60%. Where do we come up with those numbers? That is what? Level 1 cardio. What do we call level 1 cardio? The testing phase, right? So what do we do? Well, the first thing we do is we test them. We take 60% of their maximum heart rate, their predicted maximum heart rate, and we do what? Well, let's say we use a treadmill. So we put them on a treadmill, get them up to around 60%, and as they are increasing, getting towards 60%, what's our first test? Our first test is called the talk test. So we want to talk with them and make sure that they can keep up a conversation. Now remember, they must be able to do 4 words. That's the key. 4 words before they take a breath. So if you ask him, hey, how you doing? And he says, oh, I'm doing just fine. I'm doing just fine. 4 words, you're all good. Now let's say you start to talk with him and you say, so how you doing? And he says, I'm doing just okay. Now you know that you are what? You are going too fast. You are increasing the intensity too much, and they are no longer in an aerobic state. Aerobic, remember, by definition means that there is plenty of oxygen available. So anaerobic, opposite, means that there is not enough oxygen available. So during our cardio test, we want to try to find what their aerobic base is. We want to find out what number, about what level do they go from the aerobic state to the anaerobic state. That is known as your anaerobic threshold. Okay, I'm throwing out a bunch of words here, but I really want you to try to focus and try to get through this, right? So, throwing out a bunch of words, I'm trying to go through it because you all should have heard this before. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start them on a treadmill, start walking them a little faster, give them the talk test. As they get around that 60%, we want to make sure that they can what? Say 4 words. If they say 4 words before they gasp for breath, you're good. That is your safety zone. You're still in an aerobic state. Now the next thing we want to do is stop increasing the speed or stop increasing the level, stop increasing the intensity, and we want to make sure that their heart does what? It levels out. We want to do this for 3 to 5 minutes. Provided for 3 to 5 minutes their heart rate does not raise, right, more than 5 beats, anywhere between 1 and 5 beats is considered level, then you know that their heart is what? Stable at that amount. Now the final test would be the what? The recovery heart rate test, which is as you drop the intensity, boop, 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 and it goes slower, their heart rate travels down as well. Now, our goal is for their heart rate to drop pretty significantly within the first 1 to 3 minutes. If it does not, within 3 minutes, go back down close to what their starting heart rate is, it means that they are not in great cardiovascular condition. We want to work on that. Okay, now let's say provided they are able to go to 60%, they are able to what? Level off, and now that is considered their safety zone. Now what do? Well, now we know that we want to what? Increase their cardiovascular capacity. So we're going to start with our interval training. We are allowed to go up 10%, so that means now 70% of their maximum heart rate. So now we take them a little faster and we try to get them up towards 70%. As they're getting towards 70%, what do you think we do? We start talking with them. We need to make sure that they can do what? 4 words without gasping for breath. Now, let's say at 70%, they are only able to do 2 or 3 words and gasp. That means we are now hitting their anaerobic threshold. Now, that means that is going to be where we take them for our intervals. So, let's just use 70% as their anaerobic, right? They become anaerobic at 70%. So what we are going to do is, for every second that we are at the 70% threshold, we are then going to bring them down for 3 seconds. So we're going to use a 1 to 3 ratio. 1 to 3 ratio. This is so important. This is unbelievably important. This is how we train someone, especially someone who is untrained, someone who is new. If we do not live by this standard, these are the kind of people that you see that come to the gym all the time, right? They're there all the time and they always do classes and they always work hard and they're sweating real hard. But you look at them and you're like, they don't look any better, right? They don't look like they've really changed. They don't look like they work out. They don't look like they're doing the right thing. It's because they're actually training too hard, right? They're in their anaerobic zones. And when they're in their anaerobic zones too long, they have too many substrates blowing through them, right? And their body becomes full of toxicity. And we need to have that clean. So there's a 1 to 3 ratio. People, this is all scientific. It's scientific to do a 1 to 3 ratio. So let's take that over again and make sure we're on the right page. So let's say we have found out 70% becomes their anaerobic threshold. We are going to take them up to 70%. Let's say we let them stay there for 30 seconds, right? 30 seconds. They're working kind of hard. They're not passing out or whatever, but they're working kind of hard. They're breathing, they're okay, but they're not able to do those 4 words without taking a breath. Now for every 30 seconds up, how long do we want to bring them down? For 1.5 minutes. Remember, 3 to 1 ratio, right? For every minute up, we're going to do 3 minutes down. So for every 30 seconds up, we're going to do a minute and a half down, right? Now, after we've stayed that minute and a half down, now what do we want to do? We want to take them back up again. Now, each time we take them up is considered one series or one rep or one, however word you want to discuss it, right? And now our goal is to what? Start them at what? 2 to 3 series, 3 to 4 series, 4 to 5 series, right? We take them up step by step by step. That is how we train an individual. So the first time we work out, let's say we're going to do 2 weeks of steady state. We're going to take them below their what? Below their anaerobic threshold. So let's say for them, their anaerobic threshold gets around that 65%. So we're going to take them 65%. We're going to try to go for 10 minutes. And we're going to try to go for 12 minutes. We're going to go try for 15 minutes. When they can do 20 minutes in their safety zone, right? That is considered their aerobic capacity or their aerobic threshold, right? Their aerobic base. With that aerobic base, we now know where their safety zone is. Now, after we've done that for 2 weeks, let's try what we call a microcycle. We'll try that for 2 weeks. After we've done that for 2 weeks, now we can bring them to level 2 cardiovascular training, which is what? Which is improvement phase. We can now try to get them a little better. So we're going to tease it. We're going to tease it up for the interval. So now, their aerobic base is 65%. Anything above 65% is what? Is getting anaerobic. So we'll kick them up to 70 for what? 30 seconds. Bring them back down under 65 for how long? For a minute and a half. After the minute and a half and they've recovered, we're going to kick them back up. Boom. And bring them back down. Does that make sense? Each time we do that, it's an interval. We're going to start with what? Maybe 2 to 3 intervals on the first day. We can work our way up to 3 to 5 intervals, work our way up to 5 to 7 intervals. But the total amount of time of training should be what? 20 minutes or less when they first start. Does that help at all? I hope I didn't confuse you or throw you off. I hope that makes enough sense to get someone started. After they're able to do 20 minutes for a month, right? Now we can start increasing either the intervals, increasing the levels, but you always go back to that test. What is the test? The test is that they are able to go up to a heart rate, a percentage of their heart rate. They're able to what? Level off for 3 to 5 minutes. And when we decrease the intensity, their heart rate goes back down and they go back to where they started. Within 1 to 3 minutes, they've completely shown their heart rate to go back to resting. Does that make sense? That is how you train someone cardiovascularly. That is how you train someone to get them in better cardiovascular conditioning. Sounds good? Next week, maybe we'll go over the 1 mile test, but right now, I just want to make sure you understand how to train someone in cardiovascular conditioning to truly make a difference in their lives, increase their cardiac capacity, and keep them on the safe street. Got it? Alrighty. Thank you so much. And once again, my heart goes out. Thank you so much for everyone that called in and wanted to start training with me and wanted to start mentoring with me. I truly appreciate it. We do have 1 or 2 spots available. They're very specific times of the day. So if you're interested, just let me know. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. God bless.